All right, welcome to a special edition of Around the SEC with Stephen Willis and Corey Burton. We're going to go talk about the major stories in the conference. This is going to be a kind of a special edition. We're going to look post-draft, post-spring, kind of storylines going into summer. How you doing, Corey?
Man, I'm great, man. How are you? Been watching the Palmcast? Man, I'm excited at the direction that you're going, man. You're doing a great job. You're killing it.
Thank you very much. Also, speaking of the podcast and the channel in general, you want to tell others what they can expect to see because I think we're going to bring coaching chatter on board.
Yeah, so I do. In addition to the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Podcast Network, I do a show called Coaching Chatter on that same network. And one of the things that I want to do is I want to bring coaching chatter to life here at some point, somewhere. And Steve, Willis Digital Media, is going to be helping me out with the Coaching Chatter podcast. We're going to bring that one to life, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to supplement Around the SEC. I think both of those shows will kind of complement each other, and of course, the meat and potatoes of this channel with the Palmcast. I think, Steve, you're going to have a great lineup.
Yeah, tell people what they can expect. What kind of show is the Coaching Chatter? I know it's going to bounce off Around the SEC and work off that well, but what can they expect?
Well, we kind of talk about things from the coaching lens. We have a former head coach of mine, Kurt Page, is on the show with us, and Craig Ladd, who has been in the sports media world as a broadcaster, longtime broadcaster, writer, also is on the show with us. And we just explore all the coaching news from around the conference, from around the footprint. We look at the NFL as well sometimes, and we also dive into the ACC sometimes. But we mostly stick in the SEC. That's where all the news is anyway. But we talk about, when the season rolls around, we'll break down games, major coaching decisions within those games. The biggest time of year for us is that time from between the last regular season game and the bowl games, where a lot of the coaching hires and movement happens, and then after the early signing period, where more movement happens, things like that. So really, kind of like the start of the off season is kind of like our Super Bowl for coaching chatter, because we kind of talk about where guys are going, who's hiring what, who's looking at what, what different hires mean to certain programs. That when we record our next episode, we'll definitely talk about Lance Leopold landing at Kansas. I think that's an interesting story. It's kind of outside the footprint just a little bit, but I think it's a huge deal if you are a Jayhawk fan. So we're going to take a look at that and some of the NFL stuff as well. So we'll definitely look at the draft too, and we'll break down, SEC football a lot during the season. So it'll be fun. It'll be good. The stories will probably be a little bit different than your standard big storylines. We'll probably dig a little bit deeper and look at it from the coach's angle.
All right. And by the time you listen to this, it is after midday Friday, so keep that in mind. But talking about Lance Leopold real quick, how do you like that hire? What do you think? You think he is the person to turn Kansas around?
I mean, if there's anybody that can, it's definitely him. I really like that hire a lot. He did a great job at Buffalo, making them a viable program. That's a tough thing to do at a place like Buffalo. I mean, the MAC has been traditionally pretty good for a mid-major Group of 5 conference, but he's kind of made that next step at Buffalo, and they're a year in and year out contender in that conference, whereas before they were probably just lucky to have football. So at Kansas, I think he's been on the staff. I'm pretty sure he was on the staff at Texas. I'm pretty sure he's been kind of in that area, so he knows that region of the country pretty well. And I have to double check on kind of exactly where all he's been throughout his entire career, but I'm pretty sure he's been in that region before. So this is a bit of a homecoming for him. I think
he's a Kansas boy, isn't he?
Yeah, I believe so. I think that's kind of where it is. And I just think they're going to get some much needed direction. I think they're going to get some stability, somebody that's going to want to be there for a little while. And I think you're going to get this is going to be another Matt Campbell situation to me. You get a Mac coach that's been successful in that conference, comes in and establishes a lowly Big 12 program. Now, are they going to win the conference? Probably not. And if are they going to have a chance to win the conference? Probably not for a while, if ever. But what Kansas is right now is a dumpster fire, and his first order of business, he's going to put out the fire, and I think he'll do that rather quickly.
Yeah, and it's a magnesium fire that's been going for about 15 years at this point.
Yes.
Before we start, Lance Leopold's offense, just getting in the weeds a little bit, it's kind of it's a smash mouth thing, and then he's a run first.
Yes, he's a run first guy, especially if he has an athletic quarterback. I think you're going to see some read stuff, some power read stuff, and I think he does a lot of good things in the run game. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what they can bring to the table there.
So Kansas and Kansas State could be a little bit of throwback football for us.
Absolutely. Kansas State's got that old, not old, but they got that North Dakota State scheme with Kleiman.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So we're through with around the Big 12. So let's get into around the SEC a little bit.
Are we going around the Big 10 next?
Yeah.
Hey, while we're at it, let's go around the Mountain West. Yeah. Let's climb the Mountain West. How about that?
Or around the WAC.
Around the WAC. I love that.
So we can talk a little Hawaii football.
Hey. Aloha.
But as this gets going further and we start doing it, we're going to have a little bit of fun, and we're going to talk about some information that is just basically stuff that you might be interested in. It might be something with Corey's unique perspective because he is an offensive coordinator at Hillwood High School, so he's actually in the profession. But he also has broadcast experience as he worked with me at Rivals for several years. Between us, there's not many people that have watched more film of high school players than we have.
Exactly, and it was nearly a decade for you and I, right?
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a long time until later. At the end of my time at Rivals, they had me doing like Final Fours and things like that.
They had you traveling quite a bit. I was like, man, I want to go to a Final Four, but then again, it was be careful what you wish for type deal.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. It was a lot of fun, but that was the Atlanta Final Four, Louisville, and Michigan, and it was pretty cool. Got to go on the court after the game and everything. It was really pretty neat.
That was when Yahoo was still relevant.
Yes, that's absolutely the case.
And I think they were on their seventh CEO at that point.
Yeah, right. That may have been past Marissa Meyer, whoever was after Marissa. No, was she the last one?
They're owned by Verizon now.
Oh.
So
okay.
Wherever that falls, I don't know.
Okay. We just finished around the Tech Central, and now we're going to talk about around the SEC. The draft was last weekend. Some interesting things happened, including if you look at draft picks and when he was selected and everything was going on, and the number 4 receiver from 2019 from Alabama in that wide receiver room won the Heisman in 2020.
Yeah, that's insane. Only in Alabama, I guess, right?
Right.
Good Lord.
What draft pick from the SEC really caught your attention? What are you looking at? Give me a surprise or so from the draft.
A surprise? Well, I mean, kind of not in the first round. There wasn't a whole lot of surprises. I mean, I was kind of surprised that New England was able to sit patiently and get Mac Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised nobody traded up in front of him to get him. I guess you could look at that and say I'm kind of surprised. I'm surprised that Jalen Waddle went before Devontae Smith, given the injury situation and in the health situation, I guess, of Jalen Waddle. I'm surprised. Well, not really surprised. I'm kind of more stoked about it. But, I'm kind of excited that Tua Tagovailoa is going to be thrown to Waddle, and Joe Burrow is going to be thrown to Jamar Chase, or going to be attempting to throw to Jamar Chase. He's probably going to be on his back a lot. I'm surprised, as far as that goes. I'm not surprised that Detroit is rebuilding. I'm excited that they're rebuilding on the offensive line. They obviously didn't go with an SEC player, but they did get Penei Sewell. So, um, as far as that goes, I mean, I think everybody kind of went where they were supposed to.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm actually surprised by the Jets, believe it or not, because they get a Matt Corral clone at quarterback. They
Yeah,
get Elijah Moore in the second round, and they picked up
I
Kenny
really
Yeboah.
I really like that going outside of the first round. Really, really like that. The Ravens, I thought, jumping up in the third round, getting Ben Cleveland at guard. Ben Cleveland might be the best guard in this entire draft. I don't know if you know anything about Ben Cleveland, but that might be the biggest human being I've ever seen in person.
Okay. And also, Ian Book and Sean Payton combined, that has a shot.
It has a shot. If Taysom Hill can work, Ian Book can work. It's a slightly different skill set than what Sean Payton's used to. But he's certainly going to have to go a different direction than Jameis Winston. And I know you're a Saints fan. I know you've got to be scared about Jameis Winston.
Yes, yeah. There's flashbacks and nightmares I have thinking about when Aaron Brooks was the quarterback of the Saints way back and throwing the ball backwards 50 yards. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's a little PTSD there for me. But
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
I think Ian Book's going to push Jameis. I think Jameis is going to get a shot. I think Taysom is going to be the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
And if Ian Book can take this year and actually learn, I wish Drew Brees would come back and just freaking mentor this guy for a year. Although that's,
He might come back as like
yeah,
a coach or
yeah.
some sort of consultant. Probably, I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised
something
there.
in the franchise because there's similarities with their height, there's similarities with their throwing motion. I think Ian Book might be a little more athletic, even though Drew Brees was a heck of an athlete. But if anybody can teach you how to play quarterback at 6 foot tall, it's Drew Brees.
Yeah, no doubt. And he's made more of a living of moving around and throwing between giant trees at offensive line for his entire career, for his entire Hall of Fame career. So, yeah, I think you'll see Drew Brees in some sort of role with the New Orleans Saints. I don't know if he can get away from the game. I mean, I don't think he'll ever play anymore, but he definitely can't get away from the game. And speaking of quarterbacks, Steve, Kyle Trask going to Tampa Bay. What do you think of that move? Second round, towards the end of the second round, Tampa Bay selects Kyle Trask from Florida. What? So to me, I think it has potential to be a really good pick, but it's also a risky pick in that you spend a second rounder, you don't know how he's going to develop at the pro level, but you have to like what you saw last season. That has to give you a lot of promise, right?
Yeah, and sitting behind Brady and just absorbing, just tell him to be a sponge for a year or two and sit behind Brady.
Or
and
10.
Yeah, and
Brady
go in
doesn't
there and do
age.
that. Yeah, but he's not going to be asked to do it right now, which some people are. So it could be a 3-5 year project for Kyle Trask. But
Yeah.
I'm going to say the phrase that I absolutely hate. I don't know how Kyle Trask is going to fit in a no risk it, no biscuit system.
He's not. You want to talk about a perfect quarterback for what Sean Payton likes to do? Kyle Trask would have been that guy.
Yeah, he
I
just
think.
wasn't around. Yeah, so Tampa Bay
Yeah.
took an opportunity. Now, and good for Kyle Trask. He was not a starter in high school. He was not a starter for 3 years of college. He started 1 year of college. His numbers of starts is somewhere within like around 17 or 18 total through high school and college. So
Yeah.
once you get to the NFL, you just don't know what you're going to get.
No, you don't. You never know. It's a totally different animal, totally different beast with that. So I don't know what you're going to get, but I can tell you that Pittsburgh with Najee Harris, I think they know what they're going to get with that, right?
Yeah, that seems like a perfect marriage. I'm looking forward to see that. I feel bad for Benny Snell, actually, because that just going to move him down the depth chart. Because Najee Harris is going to get the keys immediately.
what NFL backfield now is a true one horse backfield? You know, everybody's kind of a committee now because Carolina Carolina tried not to be a committee, and Christian McCaffrey goes down for the season. But you know, you look at every
New
backfield.
York,
Every
New,
backfield is going to be a
yeah.
1-2 punch.
The Giants
So
tried not to be a committee, and Saquon went down.
exactly, and the ones that are committees had a lot of production. Like San Francisco, I don't know how they got. I don't know how they got the production they got. They just cycled in C-level running backs, and they all produced.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
It's amazing. Let's. I know this is around the SEC, and we're bouncing all over here, and we're talking about San Francisco. Can you describe Kyle Shanahan's run system, please? There's a lot of do all right. There's a lot of zone regular.
It's outside zone based, so it's and I think the misconception with outside zone is everybody thinks, oh, they're just sweep, 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 get to the sideline as quick as possible, which is not true. You're attacking the C and D gap. So it outside zone is actually a downhill run play to where you're trying to gain outside leverage on the edge defenders, and you're trying to create that seam right there in the C gap. You don't really want to bounce outside zone out to the sideline. You want to hit that crease right up in what we call the alley or the force zone, and you want to get up into that crease right there and actually even bend it up back towards the middle once you get to the second and third level. So they really try to create double teams with the duo scheme. That's even more of a downhill scheme. So you got outside zone, which is kind of stretching the edge there and kind of pushing all your blockers towards the edge of the line of scrimmage, and then downfield duo is just come off and just mash you at the line of scrimmage and kind of force those linebackers to make a decision, and then the back's going to go the other way. That's why it's so successful, because you got running backs that commit to reading second level defenders. You don't really, like in a duo scheme, Steve, it's crazy. You don't really block the linebackers. You kind of just let them pick the hole, and they kind of block themselves. It's crazy.
Really?
Like you would think, God, I'm not blocking a single linebacker. This is bad. And people do a lot of RPOs off duo scheme too. So and there's some of that as well when they get back in the gun. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Well, I bring that up to bring this up. Can you imagine adding a quarterback run thing like Trey Lance in San Francisco?
That adds a whole new dimension to their offense that Jimmy G couldn't imagine giving them. So I really going around the FCS now, going around as we go around the Missouri Valley Conference. We look at Trey Lance, and the beautiful thing about Trey Lance is they can bring him along slow because he doesn't have that experience, right? He only started 17 games, so that sample size like Kyle Trask. So that sample size is small. Luckily, they have a guy in Jimmy G who can at least provide him with 8 games of cushion before he gets hurt and before he's forced into play. But there's so much creative stuff that they can do with Trey Lance in the run game and the quarterback run game. And, Trey Lance can also throw. I don't know if you guys know this, but he's also a good thrower of the football. And so you just open up like a whole new avenue of plays and schemes and systems just in the quarterback runs that you wouldn't normally have with Jimmy G or Nicky Mullins or CJ Beathard. Those guys, not saying they can't run, but let's be honest, they're not really runners. Trey Lance is a true threat running the ball as well as throwing it.
Yeah, he absolutely is, and I'm looking forward to seeing the RPO game, and because San Francisco, they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah, and
last year was an anomaly.
They're in a really tough competitive division. I mean, you look at what their division mates have done. The Rams, speaking of going back around the SEC, they add Matt Stafford. The Seahawks bolstered their offense in the offseason. They gave Russell Wilson some weapons, and they obviously went out and bolstered their defense a year ago and almost made a run for the conference title. But getting Jamal Adams from the Jets, and then you look at a team like Arizona, who goes out and signs AJ Green, goes out and signs JJ Watt. And then they have a pretty good draft as well. They're getting a lot better. Obviously, making a trade for DeAndre Hopkins a year ago, that was holy cow. That kind of shifted the power I guess whatever dynamic out to the NFC West. Like the NFC West is now the power conference of the NFL at this moment. The AFC South just got tremendously weaker a year ago when DeAndre Hopkins left the conference and Houston kind of fell apart. So it's crazy to kind of see one team like the Cardinals, who were almost came out of nowhere. They hired Cliff Kingsbury, which to me, I don't know about you, I was scratching my head. I was like, what in the hell are they doing? Why are they hiring Cliff Kingsbury? And
in college, he was a 6-6 coach, and then
he got fired from Texas Tech.
Yeah. He was on his way to being an 8-8 guy. Jeff Fisher special. Mm-hmm. This year 8-9 or 9-8, whatever.
And he's gotten better. They've been competitive. They're in a tough division. They have to play the 49ers twice a year, which they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They'd play the Rams, who were in the Super Bowl 3 years ago. Always contending. They're a quarterback away now. They upgraded that position, and they upgraded some other spots in skill positions as well. And then you have the Seahawks, who had been the class of that division for years and still is. So you get all of that competition in there. It's a slugfest in that division. That's a fun division to watch, and that's a division that we don't get to watch a lot here on the East Coast for obvious reasons. But I'm really excited about the direction of that division.
So I don't know if you know this, so I'm going to put you on the spot here. But does Cincinnati play Miami this year?
I believe so. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase versus Tua and Jalen Waddle. I want to see what Miami looks like. Miami being 2.5 hours from the palatial Central Florida studios.
Yes.
I can't wait to get down to Hard Rock and watch them play.
Yeah, I think Joe Burrow's not going to have a chance to throw Jamar Chase. Their offensive line is horrendous. And the Cincinnati Bengals are a notoriously cheap organization. They don't pay guys. They don't really get in the free agent market. They go the cheap route, and you see the product on the field. I mean, they kept Marvin Lewis for probably 10 years too long. He was the definition of mediocre, and they just kept going. But this Miami Dolphins team, you want to talk about another great division, the AFC East has really improved over the last year. Sean McDermott and the Bills are emerging as one of the favorites in the entire league. I really like Brian Flores and what he's doing down at Miami. I never thought Miami would rebound this quickly after they completely annihilated and blew up their team. When they traded Minkah Fitzpatrick, they had nothing. I mean, nothing when they traded Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they were obviously not in tank mode, but they were in like, let's rebuild this thing and let's try to compete mode. And they won like 3 or 4 games towards the end of the year that you're like, why are they winning? They're going to have the number 1 pick. Why are they winning? And they were still able to get Tua, but Tua's had a rough go at it. In his first year as the NFL starter, but
a lot of that is Chan Gailey.
Yeah, I think they need some scheme updates, and they need to help him out with schemes. I think they finally have some good protection. Mike Gesicki is a really good tight end. Now he has a great receiving core. He has really no excuse now because he has Jalen Waddle to add to Devontae Parker. You have Myles Gaskin, who's a great receiving back out of the backfield as we go around the Pac-12 now, former Husky. You have all these weapons. Now they need to start producing. They've got a defense that can play, right? They're not like overwhelm you elite defense, but they got a defense that can play, right? They got a defense that can hang with Buffalo, that can hang with New England. The Jets, I think they made they definitely made a coaching upgrade with Robert Saleh. I don't know how he's going to do. This is his rookie season as a head coach. So, it's probably going to be rough for him because it's rough for most rookie head coaches, in the league. There's very few rookie head coaches that really come out of the gates on fire in the NFL.
think they hired the offensive coordinator from San Francisco.
He's defensive
Yeah.
coordinator. Yeah, Robert Saleh. He's
No, they hired LaFleur's brother, I think.
Oh yeah. Michael Floor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're gonna be a Shanahan based offense, which is good for them. I wish they would have gotten Javonte Williams from North Carolina in the draft as well. I wish they would have gotten a slightly better option at running back. Obviously Zach Wilson was the right selection. I think Elijah Moore was the right selection. I think he's going to be dynamic. The receiving core is interesting to me because they have like 4 slot guys and 1 outside guy. They have Denzel Mims, they have Jamison Crowder, Elijah Moore, and Corey Davis. That's their top 4 receivers. You have 4 slot guys. With Elijah Moore, is he? To me, he's more of a slot guy, obviously. But can he live on the outside too? Is he a guy that can bounce both inside and out?
He can do whatever's asked of him. The only problem he's going to have is he's 5'9" and a quarter.
Yeah, Corey Davis is 5'11", so
yeah,
someone's got to play out there. And I don't know if that might mean they might trade or cut Jamison Crowder too. But Jamison Crowder's that veteran guy.
Yeah.
If they cut Jamison Crowder, they're going to have a whole like mess of, they're not going to have any experience in that receiver room, and that's going to be trouble for them.
I remember Jamison Crowder when he was in college. I think that Peach Bowl against Johnny Manziel, and you're like, who is this guy?
Yep.
And
he's had some injuries since he's been like nagging injuries and stuff like that since he's been in the league. He came in with the Redskins, or now the Washington football team. He came in with them, then went to the Jets in free agency. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised. He's set to make $10 million next year. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets cut him, which would be probably best for his career if he just went to a different team. Maybe he goes to the Saints. God, can you imagine Jamison Crowder as a Saint?
Yeah, they probably need a slot guy to come in there. I think they might have picked up a undrafted receiver. They do a lot of work in the undrafted market. So
yeah, I just Traquan Smith just isn't doing it.
Yeah, but I was hoping to see Sean Payton with Elijah Moore because I want to see him with a true slot because honestly they used Marcus Colston in there from the early parts of his career. And that created a mismatch like Jimmy Graham, and it was
Devery
interesting
Henderson
to see
too, played it.
Yeah, and just kind of played around the hash marks for a couple of years. That was interesting to see.
Yeah, it was. When you have a good slot guy in that offense, it's really really dangerous. I mean, they can do so much, vertically and horizontally. They can stretch the field in both directions, and that's either way that's trouble. Anytime you can create space and attack space, you're in good shape.
Yeah. All right, and let's see. Going back to around the SEC and away from the draft a little bit, have you heard any news on the transfer portal? I heard T.J. Finley from LSU went to the portal today. Have you heard anything?
I haven't heard anything on him. I think there's a lot of possible destinations for him. I don't even know if he ends up in the conference, to be honest with you. I could tell you that that Florida could use him for sure. If Florida were to land T.J. Finley, they're a team that immediately jumps back into contention in the East. They're a quarter. I mean, they have some playmakers. They're a quarterback away from being really, really dangerous, really, really pesky. So, I don't know much about what's going on in the transfer portal lately. I've been kind of focused on the draft and kind of been focused on, I've kind of like turned my brain off of SEC football for last week or so. So, I'm gonna dive back into this portal here and see who goes where, and see who ends up where.
Should be interesting because the number of kids that just popped in after May, I think Alabama got like a 5-star from Ohio State that was a sophomore. So
yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, the rich keeps getting richer.
I know. And then, of course they add him to John Mechie. It's man.
Yeah. But the good news is for everybody that's listening. Bill O'Brien is now the offensive coordinator at Alabama, so he could take a great Alabama wide receiver and just force him into the transfer portal, and he's playing in Memphis next year.
No, knowing Bill O'Brien, he'll trade him to LSU. He'll get him to transfer to LSU for a recruiting assistant.
Yes, yes. For somebody that was a general manager or something at a small group of 5 school.
Yeah, that's what he'll do. He'll get like the director of player personnel or something to come be like a analyst at Alabama.
Yeah. You see all the time, and we're real quick. We're going to break down the quarterbacks real quick in the SEC for 2021. Coming into this year, who are the quarterbacks that you are looking at?
I love Matt Corral. I know your Ole Miss faithful is going to love to hear me say that. I love JT Daniels. I'm also on the Ken Seals hype train. I really think he's a good quarterback. I really think his best is yet to come. Obviously he didn't have such a great season last year at Vanderbilt, but then again, who at Vanderbilt did?
Yeah.
I don't think they really had an offensive identity. They will this year. So I really like his talent. I like Will Rogers, not Wes. Why am I saying Wes? I like Will Rogers down at Mississippi State. I like Connor Bazelak at Missouri. Those are some of the ones that jump off the page to me. I think Connor Bazelak's going to have a really, really special season up there in Columbia.
Yeah, there's a chance Missouri could surprise people and compete for that second or third spot in the division.
Yeah, if they can, as far as what Missouri's going to bring to the table, if they can kind of shore up some things and find some answers on defense, they have some offensive firepower and they have experience coming back on that side of the ball, that they can be dangerous. But they're kind of weak. They lose Nick Bolton to the NFL. That hurts. That hurts. And their defense was okay. It was good enough, but it wasn't like good enough to get them over the hump. So they're going to have to kind of find something on that side of the ball to kind of get him by, so that Connor Bazelak can do his thing.
Yeah, let him work a little bit. Mm-hmm. Any idea on the quarterback competition at LSU? TJ Finley obviously gone. Max Johnson or Miles Brennan? What you got?
I don't know. I kind of feel like they're going to go with experience. I like Max Johnson a lot. I think watching him against Florida, I think that team responds really well with him. So I would like to see Max Johnson get that job. I think he should get it. I don't know if he will, but I think by the end of the season he will be the full-time starter. I don't know if he'll be the full-time starter coming out of training camp, but he definitely will be at some point in the 2021 season.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we can wrap it up there. For Corey, I'm Steve. This has been a special edition of Around the SEC. This is going to become more regular as we move forward. We also have coaching chatter. We're going to do a bunch of stuff that's a little bit different, and you're not always going to have to see me broadcasting the thing.
You're going to have to see me, and hopefully we can figure out an option where they don't have to count my nose hairs.
Yeah.
When I look at my little preview box here, I'm like you can see my background. I have a pretty cool I have a pretty cool set that's behind me, but nobody can see it. All they can see is the Sanford Stadium and the miles and miles of nose. There we go. I think it's like the box that you put.
Yeah, it's just that small box. So yeah. Whenever we do coaching chatter, we're gonna set it up like this to where you and Kurt Page have windows, and then we'll do like a 2-box or something. Yeah,
so we're a 3-man, we're a 3-ring circus there at coaching chatter. But you can see Uga right here over my shoulder. He's attempting to bite the Auburn player there. That Auburn player probably still has nightmares about that. Steve, you'll recognize that scarf hanging from that picture.
Yes.
Over this shoulder, you have I'm pretty sure this is from the Rose Bowl. I'm having trouble tracking my pen here. But you can see over my other shoulder, Nick Chubb getting the Dirty Dancing pose with Isaiah Wilson. That's a charcoal painting. That's pretty cool. You can also see the helmet over my shoulder. So I've got a pretty good set coming together here. I'm going to put some shelving up and put some more knickknacks up there. Maybe some more random knickknacks that go beyond the scope of the University of Georgia. So that'll be fun. I've got like a helmet shell from I'm still at Hillwood, but from couple of years ago when we were checking out different helmet colors. So it's pretty cool, man. It's coming together. I'm excited about the future of all my shows. Obviously, my Believe in Georgia Dog show is doing really well. The Coaching Chatter is doing pretty well as well. I think that once we kind of get going on Willis Digital Media, Coaching Chatter will kind of take off, and I think we'll be more regular. And then with with Around the SEC, I'm super pumped about that, and also I go around the country with the Illegal Motion. We just recorded about the FCS playoffs with the Illegal Motion, the Illegal Motion College Football Podcast. We talked about the FCS playoffs. I'm very much in favor of James Madison versus Delaware, an all Colonial Athletic final for the FCS. Steve, I'm going to ask you this before we go. Okay. Actually, we can wrap on this. Are you, if FCS came out and said we're going to be a full spring league
all day,
are you in favor of that?
Give it to me all day. I enjoy it. I'll just sit down in the middle of April and I'm watching Jackson State play Alabama State on ESPN. It's not even the playoff stuff. It's just nice to see football. And it's also nice to see the FCS to kind of get their own window to where they can show off a little bit.
There's some great programs in FCS. Like Delaware is a program that I've opened my eyes to that I haven't normally been exposed to. Jacksonville State, obviously, North Dakota State, South Dakota State. The Jackrabbits have been incredible this year. They took the Missouri Valley is like the SEC of FCS.
Sam Houston State
from the Southland. They're explosive. They don't do much on defense, but good Lord, they can score in bunches. Then you got Eastern Washington. That's really good from the Big Sky. You've got They got the Red Turf. You have North Dakota, who came over from the Big Sky. They joined the Missouri Valley. They immediately became a playoff team. South Dakota State, Southern Illinois, the Salukis, a team that was kind of like middle of the road. They made a run to the quarterfinals in the FCS playoffs this year. You saw a team like VMI in the SoCon. They really made some noise.
The Keydets.
The Keydets, yes. In a conference that was dominated by Wofford and Furman, the Keydets kind of made their noise. So that was fun to watch. Like, just all these storylines that, like, FCS was extremely competitive this year in all conferences.
Those two teams, are they Wofford and Furman? Are they still running the old
Yep.
Ken Niamatoa, whatever, Paul Johnson?
Yep. Yep. Now Wofford does it from like a gun split back most of the time. They do it and they use 20 and 21 personnel formations out of gun, but they still do all the same concepts: triple, midline, counter option, trap option, belly option. They do all that, but they do it from a split back gun.
That's weird that the Southern Conference apparently has just been taken over by that style of offense, and you're not really seeing it in other places.
Yeah, like you see Furman, they do it. The Citadel does it. VMI does it to some degree. Then you look at the Big South, and you look at Kennesaw State, they do it. Big South champions Monmouth from New Jersey. How does that make sense? But also, how is San Diego in the Pioneer League with Davidson on two opposite ends of the country? That's FCS football for you, folks.
Yeah. Well, anyway, for Corey, I'm Steve. Thanks for tuning in to Around the SEC, a special edition. We're going to do this more frequently once we get closer to the season, but this is just a little bit of a taste. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you. See you soon.
See you when we see you, right?
Right.
Peace out.